Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful off-shoulder scalloped cowl kaftan, as you are seeing right there on the thumbnail and on the video. This kaftan, for the off-shoulder parts, you can use any fabric that stretches. Okay, so that part I use the scuba fabric for it. So you can also make a shirred or smoked fabric for that part. So but here I'm using crepe fabric and I'm using scuba. So my crepe is 3.5 yards and my scuba is just half a yard. So I chose to use a scuba fabric because scuba fabric can stretch a little, so any fabric that can stretch is okay for that part. So my 3.5 yards right now, I'm putting it together. So once you put the 3.5 yards together, this is what I got. Then I'm going to also put it again, that is folding it into 4 times. Okay, that's folding it another time, making it 4 pieces, as you can see right there. So now I'm going to use the folded edge as my center front and my center back. So I'm just trying to arrange this dress so we can start up our measurements. So I'm using the folded part right now. I'll place my tape on the shoulder and mark my chest line plus 1 inch. So my chest line is 9 inches plus 1 inch. I'm marking it at 10 inches. Then I'm going to mark my waistline. My waist is 17. Add 1 inch to your waist. I have 18 inches. Next is my hip line. My hip line is 29 inches. I'm adding 1 inch to it. That is 30 inches. The next is my knee line. My knee line is 41. I add 1 inch to it. That is 42 inches. And I'm using 64 inches as the full length of this kaftan. So we marked all of these lines because this is a scalloped cowl kaftan. So I'm trying to highlight the lines so the lines will be very visible for you to see. So I'm marking the lines all the way from the center front to the side of the fabric. So I just want to highlight these lines because I really need you to see what we are working on in this tutorial. So I believe my chalk line is visible for you to see. So I try to make it very visible. So now I'm marking the full length of this kaftan. So here I'm marking the full length. So after marking these lines, you can see the lines I have: my chest line, my waistline, my hip line, my knee line, and then the full length. So these are the 5 lines you need for this scalloped cowl kaftan. Next measurement we are going to take is the horizontal measurement. So I'm going to place my tape on the center front, center back, and I'm going to take my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 16 inches. So I'm taking all the 16 inches. Don't divide it by 2. Just take all the 16 inches and mark. Because we are going to have gathers, so we need enough of that measurement. So I'm going to curve from the chest line to that 16 inches of my shoulder. So you can see me curving the 16 inches into the chest line. So that was the reason we have to make this chest line, because we are going to curve our shoulder into that. So now after that, I'm going to take the measurement of my sleeve. I'm using the rest of the fabric which I got as 14 inches. And now I'm going to measure where the sleeve is going to be. Of course, there will be a cuff attached to this sleeve. So here I have 12 inches. So the 12 inches, I'll divide it by 2. Here I have 6 inches, and I'm going to place my tape and mark the 6 inches. So I will mark 6.5 because half an inch is stitching allowance. So now I've marked the 6.5. So the next we will do on the waistline, you come in by 3.5 inches. On that waistline, come in by 3.5 inches. Then connect from the sleeve area to the waistline with a curve. Remember, we are making a scalloped cowl kaftan. So this is how to go about it. From that sleeve opening, connect to the waistline with a curve. Then on the hip area, you are going to go in by 7.5 inches. Go in by 7.5 inches. So you can see on the hip area, I came in by 7.5 inches. And I'm going to connect it from the 3.5 inches of my waist into the hip line. So this is the reason we have to make all of these lines, because of the scallop. Then on the knee line, I'm going to measure my hip circumference divided by 4. Mine is 12 inches, I'll mark. And I added 3.5 inches to it. Just add 3.5 inches to it. So I'm going to connect from the 7.5 inches on the hip line to the knee line to form the next scallop. So after forming that scallop, the next we are going to do is to take the measurement of all we have on the knee line, take it to the hem line. There I have 15.5 inches. So I'll mark the 15.5 inches with a straight line to the knee line and connect with a straight line. So the next thing we want to do, you can see the scallop right now. Next is to start cutting out the size of this cowl kaftan. So I'll just go ahead and cut what I have right there. So you can see me cutting through the scallop. So this scallop will give that shape you are seeing right there on the thumbnail. So here is what I got, and I'm going to place a notch at the sleeve opening. 6.5 inches, I placed a notch at that point. So you can see the measurement of the shoulder is what I use, 16 inches, which I curved into the chest line, and I'm cutting off that area. That is the part that will be gathered. So make sure you make notch on the center front of it too. So this is what we have, and this is what I expect you to have for your scalloped cowl kaftan. You can see the curves we had right there. So now I'm going to gather this into the band. So that band will form the off shoulder. So here I'm using my scuba fabric. Like I said, I have half yard. So I'll just fold my half yard. So make sure it's folded this way, and the width of it when unfold is 5 inches. So you can make it smaller or bigger. So I'm using 5 inches for my width. Now I'm folding it at 5 inches for my width. That is the width on fold. So I'll make sure I have 5 inches all along. So this is only for one part, I mean the front piece of my band. So I'll secure it with my pin, because we want to measure the length of this. So take your tape around your shoulder, as you can see right here on the picture on the screen. Whatever you have as your off shoulder, divide by 2. So for me, I have 41 inches, divide by 2 gave me 20.5. But I added 1 inch for stitching allowance, which is 21.5. So I will just cut out that part I chalked and place my 21.5 inches. So now I'm cross-checking to be sure I have 5 inches at that point. So I'm going to cut out the 21.5 inches, but I'll go in by half an inch and go in on top by half an inch again. That is to taper that part so that it relaxes on the shoulder. Okay, so you can see how I'm curving it like that. So that is 0.5 inch I'm curving in. So I want to first cut out the front band for the off shoulder. So I just cut it straight and then cut it straight. So I want to put it together so that when I'm cutting off that 0.5 inch curve, it will go off accordingly. So I put it together and I'm going to secure it with my pin, so I'll be able to cut out that tapered part. So the tapered part is 0.5 inch. Of course, I've told you why I made that tapered part, so it will have a firm grip on the shoulder. Just go ahead and cut it out the way I marked it. So after cutting it out, I'm still going to place this band on the other fabric, on the scuba fabric again, to cut out the back piece. So I'm going to spread my scuba fabric this time around. So before I wanted to fold it and cut, but I just thought of spreading it open. It will be better to cut out those tapered parts very well when I spread it open. So I just spread it open and secure with my pins. So I'll now go ahead and cut the shape. You can see me going into the tapered part. So that is the shape you are going to have once you spread it on the other fabric. So one part will be for the front and the other part will be for the back. So I'll just go ahead and cut it off accordingly. So after cutting off this part, the next is to go over to the machine to stitch. So I'm going to stitch at 0.5 inch. If you remember, we added a seam allowance of 0.5 inch. So I'll just go ahead and add 0.5 inch. You can see how I'm going to sew it. So I'm going to follow the chalk lines accordingly like that, and I'm going to sew 0.5 inch all around. So here is the back piece, although scuba does not have back or front, but I just chose one part as my back piece. So after sewing, just go ahead and make a notch. Make a nice notch because that part is a curvy, so it will be easy for you to turn. So I'll just go ahead and open up the seam lines and give it a good press. So after pressing it down, this is what I have. So next is to fold it into two again. So we have the folded part on the upper edge. So this is what I have right now. So the next I'm going to do now is to go over to the machine and sew the two of it as one piece, but I'm taking my measurement. You can see we actually have the 20.5, so make sure you confirm your measurement before you finish up. So now I'll go over to the machine and stitch as one piece. So I'm done stitching as one piece right now. The next I'm going to do is to bring back the dress. We are going to make gathers on the neckline. So make sure you have notches on the center front, center back, and on the shoulder line. So I'm making my notches on the shoulder line, so it will be very easy for me when gathering. So I bring back the band. I want to make notch on the center front, center back. So make sure you make notch center front, center back, because this will help you when we are going to attach this band to the gathered area. So now I'm done gathering. I secured with my pin. On those notches I use pin because the way it is with gathers, it will be difficult to identify. So you have to use your pin for easy identification. So now I'm going to place the part that is on the shoulder. I'll pin it to the shoulder. So I'll also pin the other part on the other part of the shoulder of the gathered dress. Then after that, I'm going to pin the center front and the center. So after pinning all of this, the next is to go over to the machine and I'm going to stitch all around. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to stitch this on the machine. So you have to make the gathers even. Make sure you make your gathers even. So if it's not even, it's actually going to be difficult for it to spread evenly. So I'll go over to the machine right now. So you can see me stitching on the band. You can see how I'm stitching. I'm placing the gathered part on top of the band. So it has to be on top of the band so you will see the gathers very well. So I just take my time and evenly distribute the gathers on the band, as you can see. So I'll do that till I complete the whole process. So that means you have to be very patient while doing this. It's not something you have to rush. So you take the gathers so you'll be able to have a very neat finishing. So wherever I have my pins, you can see I still have my pins right there. So I made sure the pins does not go off. It has to be at that point as I distribute my gathers. So I just thought of showing how this is stitched, okay, because it might be somehow difficult for some beginners joining us in this video to do this. So this is what I have after I'm done gathering. Can you see what I have right there? So the dress is ready. We've gathered the upper part, which is the off shoulder. So we are going to stitch right now the side of this dress. So in stitching the side of this dress, I'll go in with 0.5 inch from the sleeve area. I'll follow the scallops like that till I get to the end. So after stitching, this is what I have. So I'm going to make notches. You can see how I stitched. I'm just demonstrating how I came through the sleeve area to the hem area. So now I'm going to place my notches on wherever we have curves. The notches will actually help to ease the size of the dress. So after placing the notches, I'm going to also place the same notches on the other side as well. So once that is done, the next is to sew our cuff. So I'll open up the cuff right now. I'll also pretend taking the measurement again, but of course I stitch half an inch, so I should have 6 inches. Multiply by 2 is 12. I'll add 1 inch to it, that is 13. So I made the width of my cuff unfold at 5 inches, and the length of my cuff is the 13 inches. So I'll place it together this way and stitch half an inch. So that is exactly what I'm going to do right now. So but I just thought of measuring the 6 inches to be sure I have my exact 6 inches to sew for the cuff. Okay, so I'm just measuring 6 inches just to be sure. Okay, so I'll go over to the machine to stitch. After stitching, this is what I have. I'll turn the cuff right now, as you can see. So I'm just test running it to see if it will enter my sleeve area. So the next is to place the cuff on the sleeve opening. So watch how I'm placing it. I'll just open up my sleeve. As you can see, I'll make a notch at that point, open it up, insert it. Make sure the stitched part is on the stitched area, that is the side of the dress. Okay, so once you insert it, the stitching has to match the stitch of the dress and the cuff. So I'm going to the machine to sew all around it. So after stitching, the dress is ready. So you can see our dress is very beautiful. So you can go ahead and hem the down part of it. So I'm just trying to turn it for you to see the front area. So if you have watched up to this extent, what are you waiting for? Why not subscribe to this channel? Click on the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, and subscribe to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. See you again. Bye.